I was JO. It was a gorgeous day, like in the Aegean/Med. A guy got blown overboard by an S3 Viking, and we went and picked him up. It was, there could have been a more perfect day for a rescue.
Low stress rescue.
Yeah, for sure.
Sure.
And so I thought to myself, you know what? It would be great to be able to still, what are the odds, how often is my brother, he's going to train his whole career, and he may not ever pull the trigger, when it comes to that, if he's a sniper on the SWAT team.
And Mojave ground, X-ray 1, ready to check, 1, 2.
Welcome to the Naval Aviation Ready Room podcast, where the stories, leadership, and leading-edge technology of naval aviation come alive. Hosted by retired Navy Captain Ryan Keyes, this podcast takes you beyond mere museum artifacts as he delves into the personal stories, pivotal decisions, and state-of-the-art hardware that define the world's most prolific aviation force.
All right, welcome to a special edition Ready Room podcast today. As you can see, I am actually in the guest seat, and we have a guest host today, Captain Pat Everly, retired United States Navy, who is going to talk to me today. But I think it's really interesting that he and I have very, very similar careers, where we started from and actually kind of where we ended up and all the stuff that's kind of in between as well. So thanks, Pat, for joining us today.
Oh, my pleasure to be here today.
So I was going to go over his bio here real quick. So like me, he was a Naval Academy prep guy, not NAPS, but he went to the Hill School.
Yep.
I went to Northwestern Prep in Southern California. Hill School is in
Pottstown, Pennsylvania.
Pennsylvania.
About an hour outside of Philly.
Okay, got it. Did you go to Philly a lot?
Occasionally.
Oh, okay.
Occasionally.
Yeah. Naval Academy after that.
Yep.
Class of 91, economics major, selected naval aviation, went down to flight school, gets winged, goes to HC3 for the FRS as a Cat 1 student to learn to fly the H-46, the mighty Sea Knight.
There you go.
Then HC11 for your first tour as a JO there in San Diego. And for everyone, HC Helicopter Combat Support Squadrons is what they were at the time. And then came back to HC3 as an instructor. HT8 as an instructor pilot here in good old Whiting Field. And probably, how many hours did you fly a year?
Between 600 and 700 a year.
Wow. That's a lot.
It was a lot.
Yeah. I think I'd got 700 in my 2.5 years as an FRS instructor.
Sure.
So, oh my goodness, that's a lot of time in the seat.
It was, but it was great.
Good. Second sea tour, disassociated sea tour after that, USS Wasp in Norfolk.
Yep.
Probably started off as the handler.
I was a handler and flight deck officer.
Okay, yep. And then HC6 stayed in Norfolk at that point. Transitioned to Sierra.
Yep.
Did they change names then too? Did
they stayed HC6 until after I left my department head tour, and then as the community matured and the 46 was retired, they transitioned to helicopter sea combat.
Yeah. Then from there, from his department head tour, went to join staff, National Military Command Center, the place you hear about all the time. That's in the basement, right?
It was.
Get all the news throughout the world and whatnot was going on with DOD.
A pretty interesting job.
Yeah, I bet it was. And then selected for command at that point.
Correct.
HSC 25 in Guam, the Island Knights. Having been an HS guy my whole career, we always heard about Guam and how crazy it was, but how great it is to be out there.
Truly unique experience, without a doubt. Yeah, without a doubt.
Unique experience.
It was.
Okay. Then from successful command tour, I had a band.
Without a doubt.
Yeah. Op Nav at that point to the N88 shop before it became N98, but helicopter requirements officer.
Yep.
So that is a, let's just say, hand-picked job for sure. Then screened from there for what we call bonus command, HSC2, the FRS in Norfolk, and then to the wing after that for major command. Then you got even an extra gig after that of command as well, Embry-Riddle ROTC.
You bet.
Which was, I'm sure, pretty
great post-major job and a great way to still influence and help develop that next generation of naval officers.
That's cool. And then from there, retired.
I did,
right?
19.
Yep. And then taught high school at JROTC.
For a couple of years up in outside of Atlanta, Gwinnett County.
Okay. And then moved to the Panhandle, back to Pensacola.
July 1st of 21, back to Pensacola.
And now he works here at the foundation as the director of the National Flight Academy, which is in and of itself, I mean, a talk about an incredible experience for young people really wanting to learn about naval aviation.
Sure.
For sure. And he successfully leads an incredible team there of, how many do you have on your staff?
About 12 full-time, and then peak in the summer when we're running 180 students a week, as many as 75 seasonal employees.
Yeah. And for the first time in how many years, NFA is actually in the black rather than
The last
the red.
so it's great.
Yeah.
Great.
So for the whole time you've been here,
Right.
we've actually been bringing money in.
I'll chalk that up to the team for sure.
Yeah. But it's funny again. So we both started as foundation guys and Naval Academy guys, and now we're both here together at the Naval Aviation Museum Foundation.
You bet.
Yeah. So pretty funny. So I'll pass it back then over to you so we can start, I guess, talking about me.
Sure. Well, again, thanks, Ryan, for having me here to participate in this discussion. And it's really neat as we come to you from the Naval Aviation Ready Room here and be able to talk about, kind of how we got into this business and what was your motivation. That's kind of where we'll start is what was your motivation? What caught your eye? What brought you towards the Navy versus no military service or any of the other ones? But I think a theme that the listeners will hear as we go through it is you're going to hear a lot of similarities in terms of what Ryan and I ended up doing just several years apart. It's almost a little spookier eerie as you all.
It kind of is, actually.
So I'll tell you what, I'll share what brought me into the Navy and kind of what motivated me to stay. And so my dad was an enlisted sailor in the late 40s and then during the Korean War. And so his service was always something that I was able to look back on and talk to him about. And then my older brother was also a Naval Academy grad. He was class of 86. So I got to see firsthand, firsthand as far as what you can understand when you're not living it.
Yeah.
What he was doing. And I thought it really appealed to me. And so, of course, the icing on the cake was, I was a high school grad in 1986, and that's when Top Gun came out. So that me, along with every other 18-year-old that had any inclination towards flying, kind of looked that direction. But what spurred your interest?
Yeah. For military services, my father.
Okay.
I'll go back a little bit more. Grandfather on my mom's side was actually going through flight training for the Army Air Corps in 1942 timeframe.
Okay.
And then to be a glider pilot.
Okay.
And then thankfully they cut him out of the program and joined the Navy, and then actually became a dispatcher in the Pacific for DC-3 squadrons, logistic squadrons. I say that because of gliders, because a lot of people didn't survive glider missions, at that point. So my mother would never have been born. My grandfather on my dad's side was a master sergeant in the Army during World War II. Fought in the Battle of the Bulge, was a transportation guy. Rumor has it in the family that he was the one who actually towed away Patton's car when Patton died in his car accident. So that was the urban legend going out through our family for many years. Who knows? My father enlisted in the Marine Corps in 1965, early 1965.
Okay.
For the Vietnam War. Decided he wanted to be a Marine, not be drafted. And so he and his best friend and his younger brother a year later all enlisted in the Marine Corps. My dad was an infantryman, rifleman at 0311. Landed in Da Nang, I believe, in 1965 or 66. Was combat wounded, Purple Heart, got a Navy Combat V, luckily came home from that. And then the Marine Corps or military, he did his 4 years, got out as a sergeant in 85, and then moved up to Northern California and started having his, family and whatnot. But throughout time, we always had kind of a Marine Corps military service influence really in our family. Like I said, his best friend, who's kind of like an uncle, actual other uncle, all were in the Marine Corps. We've had kind of service, I guess, through our whole life. So I was very interested in trying to go into the military. And I thought to myself, well, I want to be a Marine infantry officer. So I said, where do you go to do that? And I thought, well, West Point, right?
Sure.
Because that's where infantry guys go. And they said, no, you want to go to the Naval Academy. I said, oh, because that's where they graduate Marine Corps officers. So I was like, oh, okay. But I was also really into aviation growing up. Like I loved building model airplanes, shooting rockets, going to airports. My grandfather, the one who was the pilot, he actually worked in an airport. So we would go down there and hang out in Santa Maria, airport down in California. And so that's kind of where I thought the combination of marine aviation would be the place that I wanted to go. didn't get a ROTC scholarship, didn't get in the Naval Academy my first try. So went,
I know how that feels.
Yeah, exactly. Went foundation with Northwestern Prep School, a unique place where you actually do 6 months at the prep school, then you do actually 6 months at a junior college, reapply. I got in, and then I was a class of 95 at a Naval Academy as an English major.
There you go.
Yeah, totally different. So that's kind of the motivation. I have another story about why Navy versus Marine Corps, but that's kind of the, like I said, it's kind of just a family business. If that and law enforcement were the two things. My dad got out, was a cop for almost 40 years, along with another uncle, my brother. So it's kind of how it is.
This is going to be even eerier because when my dad got out of the Navy and got his, he was working, so he retired from federal law enforcement. So he was a Capitol Hill policeman and then Department of Customs Treasury on the Texas-Mexico border. And so a little law enforcement background there. And my younger brother, the only Army service in the family, just retired 2 years ago after 30 years in law enforcement. So a lot of parallels on the both, not only in our career, but also family side.
Yeah. So my dad retired from federal law enforcement as well through Department of Commerce.
Okay.
And then my brother just retired as an Oceanside cop last year after 27 years. And now he is working for the district attorney's office in San Diego, in downtown San Diego. So yeah.
That's great.
They said spooky.
There's
we're gonna title this podcast the Spooky Podcast.
That's right.
Yeah,
Holy
Spooky
cow.
Podcast.
Well, that's great.
Yeah.
So when, of course, we kind of know a little bit of your background in terms of what you ended up flying, traditional HS, Foxtrot Hotel.
Mm-hmm.
For the folks that listen, not everybody either decides or gets the opportunity to make the Navy as long a career as both you and I did. So as you were finishing up, kind of early on in your career, anything that stood out that said, hey, this is why I want to stick around, or this is why I still really love what I'm doing?
Yeah, that's a great question. So I would say my brother had a lot to, so it comes a time, right? So when you do your minimum service requirement for your wings, so it was for us as helicopter pilots 7 years after winging. So I got winged in October of 1997. So math in public here, that takes me to October 2004. And so that's about the time, though, that you're also making lieutenant commander or 4 select. They like to throw bonuses out. The Navy does at that time. Hey, sign off another 5 years. Here's a bonus. And so I was kind of at that tipping point in my career. I was a flight instructor at HS-10.
Mighty Warhawks.
Yeah, the Mighty Warhawks, right? The fleet replacement squadron in North Island. And so I was there, and I'll tell you, if you ask my wife, she'll tell you I was 100% hell-bent on getting out of the Navy. And so I was looking for jobs all the time. And then, I just kind of started at the FRS, started flying a lot more, got good jobs at the FRS. And essentially I kind of had my next job open to essentially do anything I wanted to do at that point.
Okay.
And I said, I want to go back to Norfolk to, at the time was what's called Car Group 4, Care Group 4.
Training Care?
Yep, Training Care Group. Now it's called CSG 4.
Yep. And
I really wanted that job because I just done like 2 deployments as a JO. I knew if I stuck around, I was going to do a lot more deploying. It's the GWAT. So, hey, I want this job. A lot of people didn't want to go from San Diego to Norfolk, I'll be honest with you. A lot of people wanted to go back to Jax or stay in San Diego. So I figured, hey, I'll take 2 years in Norfolk. Why not? But really, it's because the mission of it is a training strike group. So they train all the other ones before they go on deployment. And the job, I don't know if you remember a guy named Mark Homan or not, Homie Homan.
I know the name.
Yeah. So he was a department head of mine in HS3 when I was a JO, and he had that job. And the job was really focused on the training of air wings to conduct combat search and rescue missions, CSAR missions.
Right. And
I've been fortunate enough to go through the Seahawk Weapons and Tactics Instructor course at Fallon, Nevada. INSOC at the time, now it's Nautic, and kind of be the SME on CSAR missions. So I just saw this as kind of the normal progression that you want to do, right? Go there, then you do department head tour. Because we talk about department tour, to me, department heads are kind of the linchpin in the squadron. You bet, for sure, because of their amount of experience that they have in leadership that they bring. So I figured this was just the kind of the natural way. The job in San Diego that is the assister to that,
Mhm.
I mean, people were lined up.
Sure.
Like for that. I can stay in San Diego. I can go fly in East County. It's gorgeous out here. But again, no one kind of wanted to go to Norfolk. So I was like, hey, can I go to Norfolk? And I said, sure. So the XO, J.R. Nettleton, was like, hey, yeah, I'll get you, orders or, out there. So I was like, sure. So I kind of gave him an ultimatum. I said, well, I want these orders or I'm getting out. I mean, that's kind of,
so essentially all in. It's either this or this
Yep.
or this or bust.
And oh, by the way, if I do stick around, I will sign on for the 5-year bonus. I'll get a lot of extra money and we'll see how it works after that. And my wife, Courtney, and I, we kind of had that idea of, hey, we'll take one set of orders at a time, right? See how it plays out. But then you lock yourself in, to 5 years and see how it kind of goes. But that was really kind of the defining moment to say that, hey, I'm going to stick around. But there's one other aspect to that. So my brother at Oceanside PD, he was on the SWAT team.
Okay.
There for a little amount of time, and actually trained as a sniper on their SWAT team. And he, I thought about, he puts himself into positions to be able to do some really impactful, great things. And I still want to have that ability to do that. And I figured that if I stick around, I can still be able to. I was fortunate enough that I got one rescue when I was a JO.
No.
Puck Esposito.
I do.
Yeah.
I do very well.
So he was my aircraft commander.
Okay.
I was JO. It was a gorgeous day, like in the Aegean/Med. A guy got blown overboard by an S3 Viking, and we went and picked him up. It was, there could have been a more perfect day for a rescue.
Low stress rescue.
Yeah, for sure.
Sure.
And so I thought to myself, you know what? It would be great to be able to still, what are the odds, how often is my brother, he's going to train his whole career, and he may not ever pull the trigger, when it comes to that, if he's a sniper on the SWAT team.
Right.
So I figured, you know what? I've trained a lot. I spent a lot of time doing this. I still want the opportunity to do great things. And so that's why I kind of stuck around, to be honest with you. I kind of compared myself to my brother to see what he did.
Sure. That's very interesting. Because I won't call it a completely similar path, but getting ready to leave, HT8 at the end, thinking, okay, what am I going to do? What am I going to do? Talking with the detailer, trying to figure it out. During that last year and a half of that shore tour, having very similar discussions with my wife, Tammy, and with her dad, who had spent 33 years as a, corporate guy with Goodyear tire and rubber, moving around on the production side, moving around from factory to factory. And he gave me some pretty sizable advice when he said, don't ignore what you have, because not everything is as it appears on the other side. And so I was dead set against going and doing a boat tour, follow on like every other naval aviator, your kind of your aviation appreciation tour.
Yep.
But I will tell you, I had it all lined up. We were going to go to San Diego. It was going to be part of the MH-60 Sierra fit.
Oh, yeah.
And to bring that aircraft in and start training people in it. The timeline kept sliding so far that I finally said, hey, I called the detailer and said, I'll take boat orders, but they have to be 18 months. They have to be in Norfolk, and I need to be able to do if I scream for department head, we want to stay in Norfolk. And so the detailer was like, we can probably make that happen. And so those two things, the kind of the realization that the timing was sliding so much, and then said, hey, Pat, quit being a baby and get out there and do the hard job. So I will have to tell you, going to the WASP, I met them on mid-deployment. So flew over to Naples, hopped on an H-53, dropped me in the middle of the flight deck with my bags and trying to figure out what I'm supposed to do from there. It was great, but it ended up being, very difficult, challenging tour, but learned a lot during that. And it kind of reinforced a love of aviation, especially on the execution side. So pretty interesting.
Pretty soon you back. Yeah, I want to be a department head. Oh my goodness.
You bet. That's outstanding. You mentioned, Puck Esposito. So I'm sure at various points during your time, there were people that had, influence and impact on you. Can you think of a couple that you really look back at and say, these are some of the folks that really made a deep impact on why I wanted to stay or why I'm going to stay in, and kind of how you execute?
Yeah, sure. So when I was a JO at HS3, The group that we had when I first got there, it was a great group of guys. So my 2 roommates on my second deployment, and you got to remember, date myself. My first deployment was in 1999, so pre 9/11.
Sure.
My second deployment was 9/11,
Yep.
essentially March to November of 2001. And during that time, myself, Rob Hawthorne, if you know Winthorpe,
Know the name.
Hawthorne. So, yep. So shout out to Rob. And then Brandon Marjowitz, Pigpen. We were all roommates together, and we were the 3 senior JOs in the squadron. And, to say, when we ran JOPA, we didn't run the squadron, obviously, but we had a great influence, and our leadership really trusted us to do a lot. I still remember me and Pigpen one night doing a flight from the ship. We're up in the Northern Arabian Gulf, and we go into Kuwait, get gas, and then we go do, day bounces in the sand, come back, shut down, get gas, do that at night, and then fly back to the boat all day long. 2 lieutenants, doing it with crewmen in the back.
Right.
I mean, what an incredible, indication of trust.
You bet.
But those 2 guys definitely, because I had a feeling that they were going to stick around too. And if these kind of people are the ones who are going to stick around, then I want to be a part, of Naval Aviation with these people,
right?
I would say. And they ended up sticking around and actually both retiring as well. So,
right.
Yeah, which is awesome. As I mentioned, Mark Homan, he was a pretty big influence. I met him when I was going through as a Cat 1 at HS-10. He was coming back through as a Cat 3 from Fallon before he reported out to HS-3. And again, he had been at Cargo 4, and he was one of the first guys to do Fallon as a shore duty and stand up the WTI course.
Okay.
There. And so he was just Mr. Tactical. And that's what I wanted to be. I'll be honest with you. That's why I want to be a WTI. This is how I thought I could. That's what I enjoyed the flying the most. And so he had a huge influence on me. Like I said, just a great guy.
Right.
Puck, another one. So kind of funny. So when I was the QA officer, QAO in HS3, he was the maintenance officer.
Okay.
So he was my boss as a JO and him as a department head.
Yep.
So I got to live under his thumb, for a little bit. Then when I was a department head, so then I screened for department head out of Strike Group 4.
Yep.
And I put down to stay in Norfolk and wanted to transition to Sierra and kind of get out of the Foxtrot Hotel business because I knew that was going away, right?
Eventually, yep.
Yeah, it's going to go away. So I figured, hey, got forward firing ordnance on the Sierra. I got rockets. I got guns. Oh, well, that's what I want to go do. I'm a WTI. I figured, hey, they probably need someone to help with the squadron's transition to do that. Yep. Lo and behold, I get either a phone call or email that says, hey, you're going back to Jackson, going to HS5. I was like,
the Night Dippers.
I was like, really? Well, really? Because so Puck's the skipper. Roy Undersander, and if you know a Cowboy Undersander or not, he is the XO.
Sure.
Brad Arthur is a department head. Billy Murphy is department head. Roger Garrett is a department head. And then there's me. So every one of those guys except for Puck was a WTI. So I was like, there's no way I'm going to go to HS5 because they already have 4 WTIs. Why am I going there? I want to stay in Norfolk. I live in Norfolk already. It's easy.
Sure.
That was my plan. That was just like I was going to say, how you gave the detailer your plan of, hey, I want this for this, so I can do this. That actually, I think, makes a detailer's life a lot easier sometimes when you present them with a solution rather than just saying this. But if you
as long as it's a reasonable one, right?
Yes, of course. So my reasonable one was stay in Norfolk. I don't have to move, blah blah blah. But then I moved, and I was like, why did I move? Come to find out, because Puck said, so you have what's called, have you heard of BNRs and NFWs, right?
Oh, you bet.
So by name request and no effing way.
Right.
So I was Puck's BNR.
Okay.
To go down there. And so I went down there, and as you said, very challenging tour. My department tour was a very challenging tour.
Okay.
And, but it was fantastic. I look back on it. That was probably the most profound tour actually I've ever had. And it got me to where I am today, to be honest with you, because we all know
that is that's the kind of the cutting point, right?
It is, exactly. And so Puck and Cowboy and Wade McConby, who was the next skipper, yep, Opie McConby, and then Beeve Levitt, was the XO after that. So, they took care of me. And I was able to screen for command actually while I was in my department head tour, towards the end of my department head tour, which is kind of crazy. So Puck, and then when I was a skipper of HS-11, Puck was the Commodore.
Yep.
So I'll say that he's followed me rather than me following him. So hopefully if he does watch this, then he's going to probably say some expletives and whatnot, but
Probably call you.
really it was him. And then I'll say another one is Beav Levitt.
Sure.
Mark Levitt. We were both instructor pilots at HS-10 together. I just reported he was the senior Stan officer. And then as time went by, we just kept in contact. And then he was like, again, when I was department, he was my XO as I was kind of out the door. And then he was at the wing, when I came back through to be a skipper of HSC2. So again, very intertwined careers.
Yeah, what's say Fine American? I got to know him really well. I'd known him by name and kind of by reputation, and met him a little bit when he was still at ACT prior to coming on as the deputy.
Right.
So, Todd Flannery Flan was a Commodore when I was, when I was his deputy.
Yeah.
And of course Puck was a Commodore, Flan was a deputy, and I was 2 CO at that time. So, great exposure with all those fantastic, aviators and leaders, but, got to know B very, very well and appreciate his, he's a super sharp guy, and he's looking out for the professionalism of everybody. So it's, what a great dude. He and Aaron are fantastic.
They are. Yep. Yeah. He was actually the guest speaker at my retirement ceremony.
Oh, that's great.
A year ago. Yeah. So
That
it was
is great.
They both, they came down, swung by because they live outside Philly now.
They do.
And on their way to, I think, a wedding in Charlottesville. So
Sure.
they were able to come by and hang out for a little bit. So yeah, it was great. Yeah.
That's fantastic. It's amazing. Even, and as our communities kind of came together, it's people like Beav, it's people like Redman, who you mentioned, and some of the others, yourself, that kind of bridge the divide or bridge the gap, because there were plenty, and still are plenty, of folks that were really dead set, hardcore parochial, that, the other community doesn't know what they're doing. They can't do anything the right way.
Yeah.
But there's a lot of, hey, how do we make this work as you bring people together? And so it was a very interesting thing to observe and be a part of, because it made a huge difference, because you all had a lot of experience in missions that we didn't starting out. And then there were some things that we did that you didn't have the same level of proficiency, for lack of a better word. So very, 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 very cool.
Yeah. Hilo Master Plan. I don't know who wrote that thing, but at the time, like you said, it was quite controversial, but the professionals made it work.
They did. Absolutely. Yeah. So talked a little bit about your department head tour. So, kind of give me an idea of most impactful thing that happened, or the thing that left the biggest impression on you from being a squadron CO and your ability to impact your sailors.
Boy. Yeah. So left my department head tour, like I said, actually neat story real quick. So I was in the ready, we're on deployment in 2009. I was supposed to PCS in May, and in March I'm working orders with Andy Truluck, bad Andy Truluck, yes, and trying to figure out what we're gonna do. And he's kind of
a funny story about that.
Oh, okay. Oh, great. I can't wait. And so I'm in the ready room, and phone call. SDO takes the phone and says, hey, they can't find the skipper. XO's flying. You need to run down to CAG's stateroom. I was like, because I was the senior department head. Sure. And I was like, fine. So I run down to the blue tile area, right, which is the high senior officer, area on the aircraft carrier. You bet. And so I knock on the door, and CAG lets me in, and it's a CO's meeting for the air wing, right? And there's a seat that's open. It's like, hey, we can't find your skipper. You need to sit in for him. I'm like, oh, okay. So I sit down, kind of looking around, a little nervous, and CAG hands me a message, and he's like, hey, I need you to read this real quick. And so I'm like sitting there reading it, and there's a name that's highlighted, and it's the command screen message.
Nice.
Yes, it had my name highlighted on there. So I was like,
great way to be notified.
Yes, it was, and all the skippers are cheering and everything. So yeah, and then Opie, McConvey walks out of his, head, and he's like, all right, you can leave now. And so I got a
complete setup. That's awesome.
Yeah. So I was set up. So that was really cool. So that was in March of 2009. Left the boat in May of 2009.
Okay.
And then went to War College for a year. And so then I
man staff in Montgomery, right?
Air War College. Yes. They frocked me to 2005.
Good, very good.
Bad Andy again, it's like, hey, I'm going to send you to Air War College. And I said, you got to be like a 05 or 06. He's like, oh, we'll just rock you. I was like, okay.
Beautiful.
How does that happen? I don't know. So we figured it out, and
That's great.
Got rocked. Went to Montgomery though. Yeah, for a year. It was a fantastic experience. For sure. Loved it. Great time off. I just done two deployments as a department head, and then I got slated to go to HS-11 Dragon Slayers in Jacksonville. Sure. Was coming behind Tony Cheech Marino. You know, everyone I think knows who Cheech is. Yeah, another great American.
I saw him yesterday.
Oh yeah. Exactly. Works here on base.
He does?
Yes. It is like a Hilo retirement community in Pensacola.
Active retirement.
For sure.
Active.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah. Exactly. Very, very true. And so I'm following behind him. So I in HS-11 for the HS community in Jax. I mean, not to toot the horn of the squadron I was the CO of, but really was one of the best squadrons around on the seawall.
Sure.
It truly was. Always had good leadership, so I was just hoping that I was able to keep up that standard.
Maintain it, not improve.
Yeah. So got to 11, met them on deployment in March of 11. No, I'm sorry. Oh boy, now I'm getting my, March of 2011.
Sure.
They'd been on deployment for a couple months, and I reported there within 4 weeks. So on April 18th of 2011, I got another rescue. Man overboard at night. Actually, it was a jumper.
Oh.
Yeah, a jumper. And so everyone was really angry because the new XO just got a rescue, and he just has only been here like 3 weeks or something like that. So maybe that set the tone.
Lead from the front.
Yeah, maybe that set the tone. I don't know. But we knew as well that we were coming back from that deployment in May or June, and then we had a 7-month turnaround.
Oh,
so
for a fall one.
Yep. Yeah. So we essentially had a couple months at home, back out to Fallon again, back out for Comp 2X again. I think we even did another workup JTFX, and then deployed again in March of 2012. And so we knew we had a very compressed timeline.
Schedule.
Yeah. So being the XO during that time and making sure that the squadron was ready in supporting the CO was a very challenging time. You know, luckily we didn't come back and we didn't get kind of post-deployment stripped of aircraft and people, but now trying to maintain the morale of everyone and say, hey, bud, great job, everybody. You just did an awesome deployment. We're going to go back and do it again now in 7 months.
7 months.
Yeah. Everyone asked, well, why aren't the other squadrons doing it? Why aren't the other CAGs, the other carrier? Oh, no, by the way, we were on the Enterprise.
Oh,
yeah.
Challenge in and of itself.
Yes. The oldest ship in the Navy at the time.
You bet.
Oldest aircraft carrier. It was my second deployment, my 2001 deployment was actually on the Enterprise as well. So I've been 3 on the Enterprise. And from 2001 up until 2011 and 12, believe me, she'd aged a little bit, went through a very long yard period. They're trying to get as much out of her,
of course,
until they really had to decom her.
Sure.
And so it was a material challenge for that ship. Let's just say that. So trying to keep the crew motivated after just coming off of a hard deployment on the Enterprise to go back on the same ship that is being decommed right afterwards that's
a challenge.
It is.
That is
for
a
sure.
challenge.
Luckily, we kind of knew what we were dealing with at that point.
Sure.
But things do change in that short amount of time. So trying to keep people focused on the mission was definitely the hardest, part, I would say, is being the XO.
You bet.
At that time.
So did you, before or either during or before that next deployment, take over as a CO?
So I took over midway through the 2012 deployment.
Okay.
Yep. So it was in July of 2012. We just pulled out of Dubai, gone through the Strait of Hormuz, back into the North Arabian Sea. No, actually, sorry, we're still in the Gulf. And Cheech and I did a flying change of command, and then landed, turned over, and he jumped on the cod and was out of there. So I finished so I was in July and we got home in November.
Okay.
So yeah, I had command on the rest of deployment, which honestly wasn't, pretty much everyone's in kind of a routine at that point. Yeah. We got extended a little bit in 2012, I think for a couple of weeks. We should have been home, I think, in early October, and we got extended and we were home like the first week in November.
Okay.
So it wasn't that bad. Then I'd say the next biggest challenge after that was now from there until when I left in October. So 11 months now of coming home, and we're in the bathtub. And everyone, when I say that, like I said, post-deployment bathtub, like I said, you usually lose aircraft and you lose people.
Yeah, your readiness expectations are lowered, your funding
Flight
is
hour.
lowered, all those things to apply those resources to the ones working up or on deployment.
Exactly. But you still need to complete missions at home and training and train new maintainers.
I was getting new people. So
Yep. And possible detachments, that come up. But they're kind of hands off on. We didn't really go back to the boat until September of 2013.
Okay.
But we did some overland stuff, but
Yeah.
nothing too crazy. But trying to keep people, focused and not necessarily distracted by other things. So I'll just give you a quick story. I was the skipper at the time. I get a call. So in my XO, you ready for this? My XO is Tim Kinsella.
Yep.
Okay. Lucky, who...
Yeah, he was one of my students in HT8 when I was an instructor.
Well, there you go. Yeah.
Fellow 46 got it.
Yeah, that's right. Yep. So HC guy transitions to Fox Hotel and was a department head in HS11 as well. Now he's back as the XO. And then, of course, he was the commanding officer of NAS Pensacola. And now he lives here locally. So again,
It's a great,
it's a wicked week.
great nexus there.
Yes, it is. So he gives me a call. I can't remember what day of the week it is, but it's during the week, saying that we had an AT3 who had gone missing, didn't show up for watch. And so I was like, he's got an UA, unauthorized absence. I was like, okay. So we wait, I think about 12 hours. Could we gotten hold of him yet? Obviously his, his chief, his divo, what's going on? Turns out he is from Texas. He drove back to Texas. He's having some issues with his wife. And so, hey, we, gotten hold of him yet? Well, then we get reports that he actually had taken a firearm with him into the house, shot a couple rounds towards his wife, and then threatened suicide at that point, and then he fled and was supposedly making a beeline back to Jacksonville, I guess. And so I said, we're talking to everyone. I was like, hey, give me his number. So Lucky gave me his mobile number, and I called him, and he picked up. And I said, dude, what is happening here? What is going on? And I think this was like 11 o'clock at night. I think I had this conversation with him as he's driving down the road, heading east on I-10. And I said, where are you right now? And I think he had just passed Beaumont, Texas, right close to the border.
Louisiana border, yeah.
Yeah. And I said to him, and I don't know if this is true. I think it's true, but at least I threw this out there. I'm like, hey, do not cross state lines. Okay. Because then it becomes a federal issue at that point. I don't know if that's really true, but that's what I threw at him. I'm like, stay in the state of Texas, pull over somewhere and give me 24 hours to kind of work through this. Okay. So no kidding, pulls over, stops off at a Motel 6 somewhere, checks in, sleeps through the night. I said, I'll call you first thing tomorrow morning and kind of see where you are. So call him. He's good to go. Stay there. I ended up talking to NCIS agent, I think a sheriff, deputy sheriff as well for the county that the shooting occurred in. And I talked to his brother as well. I said, hey, we need to make sure that he goes back and faces this. And that's kind of what I talked to him about was you can't run all the time. Right. You're going to have to face the consequences of your actions. And so lo and behold, he actually turned around the next day and drove back. And I had the deputy sheriff actually waiting for him at the county courthouse to turn himself in. And he pulled up and he's talking on the phone. I don't know if I was talking to him or the sheriff, but essentially someone watching him walk up the steps and then goes into custody and then was arrested and does that, talk to his family afterwards. And they're, very thankful. So the happy ending is that we separated him from the Navy in absentia while he was in jail. But he did, like I said, turn himself in and, face the consequence. But
it certainly could have turned out a whole lot worse.
It could have, right? Yeah. No one was hurt. I later got a phone call from his brother, thanking me and whatnot. But I don't know where he is now. I mean, that was 13 years ago or 12 years ago or whatever. But that was just one incident of challenges that were there, because it normally is people that are your biggest leadership challenge, not necessarily parts or helicopters. Right. So, but so trying to keep people focused.
There you go.
That was the whole idea.
You bet.
Let's focus on as much as we can on the mission.
Yep.
Because they were going to deploy again, not on the Enterprise, but I think it wasn't. I know Lucky, I think So he took over in October of 2013, and then he gave it over to Chip Smallwood in right before they went on deployment, I believe. So about 15 months after that. So again, gotta stay focused, train your people.
Yeah, lucky he was a skipper when I was a deputy, and then for a little bit of my time as a Commodore. So
yeah. So so there's like I said, being a skipper is awesome. 05 Command, I think, is, think about World War II Pacific. I think they were actually 04s, at the time. But Squadron Command, and having direct influence on your sailors and your officers is, I think, the epitome of what the Navy is all about.
Yeah, that was one of the things that I found most appealing about, being out at HC 25 in Guam was, I mean, you certainly still had your boss, the Commodore back in San Diego, and you had your operational bosses at the various CTFs in Japan and Korea. And then, of course, we had a third boss in the Commander Joint Region Marianas. But it's
the expedite way.
And living on an Air Force base, you fall under the one star that's in charge of the wing out there. But again, the ability to be, I wouldn't call it completely autonomous, but the ability to actually make decisions and execute without too much mother may I.
Yeah.
Knowing as long as you're operating within the established, limitations that you're going to be okay. But it certainly was nice to be able to have that possibility. And I would say, I mentioned to you that I wanted to give you a funny story about Bad Andy Trueluck. He's not Bad Andy, but he's a great dude. But so he was the detailer. And I was getting ready to leave my command tour.
Okay, yep.
So on Guam, change of command scheduled for January of 2010, so January 15th. So we were all set. We had shipped our household goods.
Okay.
I had orders to start the Naval War College senior course in February. So for those that have been there, know that you start school in February, and then magically everything slows down in the summer, so you're getting a nice break throughout the summertime, and then you finish up in
Newport, Rhode Island.
In Newport, Rhode Island.
Yeah,
So
bummer.
our wife was excited, kids were excited. We'd found a rental house, shipped our household goods, bought a car, arranged for delivery. Everything was great. It is now early second week of December, and my XO, Admiral Reynolds. Sam Reynolds, yeah. My XO. It's funny. So
Another Commodore.
And another Commodore. It's funny. So the guy that I was XO for, John Manoni, Admiral Manoni.
No way.
Yeah, and Admiral Reynolds is my XO. It's great. So there was a generational skipping event happening at Gorse, and that's all good. But so we were in Japan visiting Detachment 6, who is, kind of the amphib support detachment there. And I'll date myself, my BlackBerry rings.
Oh.
And it's Bad Andy. I'm like, hey, what's going on? It's like, well, I need you to see if you want to go to the Pentagon. I said, after? After Newport?
Yeah, after.
No,
right?
No, January. What? So I talked to, my deputy at the time was Mike Horan.
Oh.
And then my commie, Mike Horan, yep. So,
Okay.
Havoc, right? And then
Mike Horan.
Frank Harrison.
Oh.
Frank Harrison, yeah, not the person.
Oh, yeah, sorry. Yes, my bad.
Different person.
Yes.
But they're like, yeah, it's gonna be great. I'm like, okay, can I at least talk to my wife, because our stuff is gone. So
Yeah.
we're living on what we call boonie furniture, right? So
Mhm.
Anderson Air Force Base, you say, hey, I moved all my stuff. I need to get the rental furniture in here so you can stay in your house.
Oh.
And so we talked about it. I'm like, well, I said, this is a great opportunity to go to N88. And so again, kind of negotiation back and forth. I said, hey, can you give me 18-month orders with guaranteed follow-on to the National War College so I can at least get my education done?
Mhm.
They were able to do that. And of course, ends up being a great experience. I worked for some fantastic senior leaders in N88, but it was pretty funny. Just that phone call from Andy going, hey man, you should go to the Pentagon. I'm like, Pentagon?
Yeah.
I swore I would never go back.
Isn't it Millington's area code 901? I think it's 901. I don't know.
Either that or,
You see
I
it.
think so, 901.
Yeah. See it pop up in front of like,
Because Jax is 904, right?
this is not good.
Exactly. But he was a straight shooter too, so that
Yes.
was a good thing. It just kind of a funny little aside there.
I like though, again, you negotiated.
Well, yeah,
You negotiated with the detailer. You gave him a solution.
you can at least ask to negotiate, right? They may just tell you no, and at that point, you're right. So you're rapidly approaching the 20-year mark. You've committed to the organization. You kind of want to make sure you find that balance, because you can certainly easily, have the scale tip too far in one direction.
So did you end up going to National War College?
I did. So I got to the Pentagon in January, January of 2010. And for those that lived in the Washington, D.C. area in January of 2010, in December, and I was home house hunting, staying with my mom who lived in Reston. I got in and out right before they got 20 inches of snow in December.
Wow.
And then we got into our house and kids had been to school for 2 days and we got 34 inches of snow. And then 6 days later, got 8 more inches of snow. So I got into the Pentagon for some turnover with Mario Mifsud, who went out to be the CO of an amphib, which is why that's why they need to backfill early. Another great American.
Yeah.
And we got a couple, 3 days of turnover. And he's like, you'll be fine. And so we met a couple times as a start.
Call me if you need something, right?
Because you couldn't get in. I mean, there was no way. The Pentagon was closed. And, so we met a couple different times to talk about, unclassed stuff and move on from there. But yeah, it was so 18 months there. So January till roughly July of 11. Admiral Moran was my one-star boss there.
Okay.
Great American. And managed to work out. And so I worked for Nasty Manazar for the first half and then Admiral Moran for the second half.
Yeah.
The one-star branch head type guy.
Did you transition to 98 while you were there?
After I left. Yeah.
Oh, okay. Got it.
I turned it over to Shelby Mounts. Skinny.
Oh.
Yeah, Skinny was my relief. There's a whole bunch of great Americans from our community that rolled through that position in the Helicopter Center of Excellence. So it was great.
Man.
It was great. Yeah, but it's pretty funny. So as I look back, you had sent me your bio yesterday, and I was just looking at it going, well, that makes sense. And especially as you get to the time at 2, as the FRS CO, how long did you get to be the CO at the FRS?
15 months.
Giddy up.
Yeah. March of 2016 to June of 2017.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. I was in my joint tour before that. So I did 23 months and a day.
Sure.
In my joint tour up in DC. It's funny, there was talk. So this is kind of when the HM community, helicopter mine countermeasure community, was going through.
We know them well.
Yes, we do. As being Commodores, the 29 aircraft at the time when I was the Commodore there, the only H-53s in all of the Navy are owned by HSC Wingland.
Yep.
They were going through, I'll say, some tumultuous times.
Challenge times.
Yep. So there was actually talk of me getting slated to be the CO of HM-12 when I was selected. And I was all about it. I'll be honest with you. I was like, hey, I'll fly 53s. Doesn't bother me, learn the new community. But ultimately I ended up going to 2. They figured it out or whatever they want to do. So yeah, so I went down to 2, transitioned to the Sierra at that point.
Yep.
I mean, man, being the FRS CO was awesome. I mean, you have the best people working for you, right? The top junior officers and chiefs and senior, like these 6s, working for you at the FRS. They would not have gotten there without a recommendation from someone to go there.
Sure.
And so it was fantastic. Other than the fact you had to rank the best people against each other.
Very true.
As well.
That was the biggest personnel challenge there, right?
Yes.
And kind of working the timing like every community has to do in terms of identifying who they think the next person to fill those roles is. That's good.
Yeah, exactly.
That's
right.
Good. That's pretty neat. Yeah. I'm glad you got a full 15 months there. So I was able to get about 10.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I got to the FRS in June of 12.
Okay.
And then selected for Major Command and slated to go right behind flight.
Yeah.
So I took over as deputy. And he said that, that end, he said, we'll just frock you. Well, the Bureau didn't frock me at 06. So I was walking around for the first 4 months as the deputy wearing 05. So
no way.
Oh, yeah, it's fun. It was good to go. But yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
So I'll give you a quick little leadership thing nugget.
Uh-huh.
So when I was a skipper of 2, so they select 1 or 2 bonus commands a year. I have a pretty big pool of very eligible people.
Qualified folks,
right?
Yeah.
Yes. So bonus command selection is, what's the word I'm looking for? It's just, I'll say a reward, but it's kind of a reward for doing well as a CO.
You bet.
Okay. So at that point, you kind of look back on your career and you look at what's next, right? Major command.
Yep.
So I had like I said, I took over in March of 16. I actually put captain on in December, I think, of 16. So when the major results came out, I mean, I'd talked to a lot of people who had said, dude, you're looking good for major command. So I was a number 2 out of 6 from CAG.
Sure.
So for a helo guy,
for air wing guy, yep.
helo guy, that's really good. That's like practically a number 1.
Breaking the glass ceiling.
Yeah. So
more and more nowadays, but that used to be the best you could ask.
Yes, quite true. And so I guess maybe I started believing my own press and listening to too many people. So, I'm air wing commander, ship, you name it, man. Let's do this. I'm ready. And then I get a call from Beeve. Says, hey man, you didn't screen. And I was like, I was blown away.
Sure.
I was walking into a meeting too, or I got called in the middle of the meeting. One of the other, I went back in there, and then the meeting was over, and I went back in my office, and I kind of started. I felt sorry for myself.
Sure.
For the first time, like ever, and for about 30 minutes, and I thought, dude, come on, man, you've had a fantastic career, so you didn't get picked. First time, kind of, you didn't get picked though. Right. So it's kind of a little bit of a slap in the face.
It is.
And, but you know what? Hey, man, you better open up that door and walk outside like nothing has changed and still command the command that you are currently in right now. And so, but again, it was like, it was a tough pill to swallow, to be honest with you. Ego got a little too much, of me. Like I said, believe my own press and maybe too many other, people. And so I was like, that's fine. Yeah, I'll put on 06, move on. And again, it's kind of like one of those things again, every set of orders is different. Hey, I got a new rank now. One retires in 06. I'm going to have to do 3 years. 3 years. Let's figure out what is the next.
What we're going to do.
Yep. And we'll move on, from there. And then come around, I think the next spring, we're out at NHA in San Diego. And Ben Reynolds pulls me aside and talks to me. I was like, so that year they selected 1 Commodore.
Yep.
And it was Sean Opie Bailey.
Opie Bailey.
Yes. And
I spoke to him last week.
Oh, did you?
Yeah.
Oh, fantastic. I have not spoken to him in a little while. He just retired.
He did?
Last 2 months ago?
Yep.
Yeah. So they selected 1 Commodore. Well, next year they're selecting 2. And you'll have a great, chance to screen, major command.
Sure.
Well, I'm not going to believe anything now.
There you go. Right.
Still going to plan on
moving on black and white, right?
Yeah, exactly.
So,
or if I do, it'll be probably an installation, right? Because on your second look, not only operational command, but also installation command.
Yep.
And so that's what I was kind of preparing myself for. And really installation command, if you know the Navy, is it's a lot harder, I think, to accept it because of the locations.
Sure.
And the environments that they're in, especially when you have a
different creature as opposed to what you're looking, even if it's
yes.
From your operational air wing to your man training and equip, on the type model series side.
Yep.
CNIC and installation is a different beast and a different set of challenges.
Yeah, 100%. And so you got to be ready to say no.
Sure.
I mean, now there's a chance I could be selected and be like, yeah, but I don't really know if I want to go to, we'll just pick one, Seal Beach, California.
Right.
Or
never knowing what's available, right?
Yeah, that's right. You never know what's available, whether or not, like I said, I had young kids.
In that stage, I was going to say, at that stage, a major consideration is a little family stability and depending on what's coming next. So.
Exactly. So our backup plan, I think, was to go back to DC and find a job there as a captain, and then retire after a few years. But lo and behold, I was actually selected. The next board around me and Papa Roach, John Rochlow, they picked 2 of us, and I was in Norfolk already. He was in San Diego already. He was the FRS CO out there. I had been out there. I was actually hanging out at the region at the time, in between my time at 2 and then the board time frame. So I actually got to learn a lot about Navy Region Mid-Atlantic. I was in the ops department and really understand CNIC. So I really thought that I would kind of go that way and be picked up, but they don't look at that when they select, right? They just looked at the whole person. And so screened for the wing, stayed there, went back through the FRS, and then to the wing after that.
Perfect.
So,
and look at you now. You're here.
That's right.
Here, quite possibly, it's I would call this one of the most unique opportunities that came my way 4 years ago and your way a little over a year ago, in terms of, holy cow, ability to still be involved in naval aviation, albeit in I would call it a relatively unofficial capacity.
True.
But as part of the foundation, whose core mission is to inspire and remember the past and honor the future, all those aspects of things. Your function here as the director of strategy for what they're trying to do to support our National Naval Aviation Museum and make sure it stays fantastic, relevant, and motivated for people to come see it, I think is fantastic. So I have to say, it's been great having you here for the last 15 months or so, however long it's been.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
Well, the thing was too is, so the way I found out about the job was from Lucky Kinsella. I'm, like I said, been base CO, connected me with Admiral Kozad, and I knew you were here, so I talked to you before I came down here to see, kind of get your take.
Pretty fun. So
here.
Lucky, when I was teaching high school up in Georgia, he reached out. We were living we'd sold our house, packed our goods up, just waiting to finish out my teaching contract, and he reached out and said, "Hey, here you coming back?" And that you're just going to be retired. I said, "That's right." He goes, "You want to talk?" He goes, "Do you know Admiral Kozad?" I said, "I do." We knew each other a little bit on active duty. And then when I was at Embry-Riddle, he was my boss's boss. So he was NETSI and NSTIC works for NETSI.
Yeah.
I was like, "Sure." I said, what are you talking about?" He goes, "I want to talk to you about the Flight Academy." I said, "What's the Flight Academy?" I had no idea. No idea this place is even here. So it was great. Showed up back here in July. So I talked to Admiral Kozad a couple different times. Got back here July 1st of 21, and he had me out and showed me around. And my wife to this day says shortest retirement ever, 6 weeks. And I started on the 16th of August of 2021. So
you were officially, you had no job for 6 weeks.
6 weeks.
Yeah.
So crazy stuff.
Dang.
Crazy stuff.
Yeah. Look at that. Again, another connection.
Isn't it though? And we're both, and we, it's great. We both end up here kind of back where it all started for us.
That's right.
Aviation wise. So.
That's right.
Well, Ryan, I think it's fantastic that you're going to be able to continue doing, this Ready Room podcast with a wide array of individuals and stories and different things that people can relate to. So I appreciate you having me here today to share some commonality, some sea stories, and a few laughs about people that we know. So
thanks
looking
for
forward to it.
I might need you to be a guest host if I ever take PTO and have to interview someone.
As long as I have, just let me give me plenty of time. Happy to do it.
There's some prep involved.
Absolutely.
Awesome. Well, thanks, Pat.
You bet. Thanks, Ryan.
Thank you for joining us on this flight through history and innovation here at the Ready Room. We hope today's episode inspired you with new insights and the incredible stories that make naval aviation so extraordinary. If you enjoyed the journey, be sure to subscribe, leave a review, and share the podcast with your network. It helps us reach more listeners like you. Don't forget to visit the National Naval Aviation Museum in Pensacola, Florida, or explore our online resources at navalaviationmuseum.org to dive deeper into the stories we've shared. Follow us on social media for updates, behind-the-scenes content, and a sneak peek at upcoming episodes. Until next time, thanks for listening to Ready Room. See you on the next flight.